New disturbing allegations are coming to light about unaccompanied minors in U.S. custody. Documents from the Department of Health and Human Services show that the agency received thousands of complaints of children being sexually abused over a 3-year period. And Democratic Congressman Ted Deutsch addressed the allegations during a high-profile House hearing today on the Trump administration's family separation policy. Here is how a top Health and Human Services official responded to that.
The vast majority of allegations prove to be unfounded when they're investigated by state law enforcement and federal law enforcement and the state licensure authorities to whom we refer them. It is important to note, I'm not aware of a single instance anywhere of an allegation against a member of the ORR federal staff for abuse of a child.
And Congressman Deutsch is with me now from Capitol Hill. Congressman Deutsch, thank you so much for being with me.
A pleasure.
You are the one who obtained these documents from HHS, so tell me why you released these, how you got them, why you released them.
Sure. Well, the House Judiciary Committee made a request in connection with the zero tolerance policy of this administration. It's a policy that the American people found such problems with to begin with because it tore kids away from their families. But in response to our request, we received thousands and thousands of documents in big stacks, and buried in the stack of documents was a response to one of our questions about cases of sexual assault. And it's incredibly alarming that over the course of the past number of years, year after year, there have been more than 1,000 cases of alleged sexual assault per year. And what's especially troubling is that in the past 3 years, more than 150 of those alleged cases are adults on child. It's the adults who work under the care and direction of HHS who have been preying upon the children under the care of HHS. And it's horrific. The details are horrific. And yet this is the first we've heard of it. It only raises 1,000 other questions about what happened to the people who were investigated. Some, we were told, were reassigned. Some were terminated. Who conducted the investigations? When did they conduct the investigation? And most importantly, when the administration decided to pursue this policy, did they stop for even a minute to acknowledge the data that showed that these kids, aside from being torn away from their parents and the trauma that would cause, will be put into situations where they were at risk of sexual abuse?
I want to get into some of these allegations. I imagine they're atrocious, some of what you're looking at. But just to be clear, if we're talking 3 years, and my math serves, 3 years, that would be under both the Obama and the Trump administrations. I hear you talking about the separations, but this has been going on, as you say, for 3 years, just so we're all, on the same page. And when you say that these are that these are staff members under HHS, who specifically and in what capacity were they serving? What kind of interaction did they have with these young people? And can you just describe this alleged abuse?
Well, that's what we're just now trying to figure out. We know from the charts that were delivered to us, we know that there were cases and cases, over 150 just identified as the staff abuse of the children. We don't know all of the details about who they were. We don't know exactly what their relationship was. We don't know whether they all had the appropriate background checks. All that we've been told thus far this morning, both in the hearing and in the statement that you just played, is that HHS's response shockingly is, well, these weren't our employees. It's not a question of whether or not these were employees who worked for HHS. The issue is the fact that these kids, so many of whom traveled thousands of miles, so many of whom were ripped away from their parents when they got to America trying to seek safety, were put into these situations where they were at risk of sexual assault. I wish I could give you answers to all these questions. These are the kinds of questions we'll be asking going forward. We have an absolute right to know. And the one thing that was repeated over and over this morning in our hearing was that we always look out for the best interest of these kids. And in this case, there was a total failure to do so.